Hello everybody, Kat here. Thanks for joining me. I know it's been a really long time since I put a video out, and for those of you who follow me, thank you so much for sticking around. This is a card I've been working on. I have made a few little paintings, kind of abstract kind of thing, trying to get over my block. I'm still kind of going through that. And I came up with a little kind of design, but I mean, these designs are all over the place, so I decided I was going to turn it around and try and change it a little bit to make it more my own. And I hope you join me. So today I am using, this is my silver black velvet size 10. Anything that's nice and juicy for you, that has a little bit of a point, it doesn't have to be super fine, that will do. And then I'm going to be using two of these skinny ones. They are not marked. I think I bought these on Temu and I absolutely love them. I know people, it's controversial, but I wanted to try it. It comes in a set of 3, and I quite like them because when they're wet, they do come to a nice point and they're really juicy and floppy for when you want to be more loose with your brush strokes. So I'm going to use the 2 smaller ones, and I believe that's it for brushes. I'm going to use P.H. Martin Bleed Proof White for any white that I want. And the colors that I have here are yellow ochre. Just need a smidge of that. So if you don't have that, just water down your next colors. This is Van Dyke Brown. This is Burnt Sienna. This is Payne's Gray or Indigo, whichever one you have. And this is called Dusk Green. If you don't have Dusk Green, all that is a very dark green, like a hooker's green, and you add black to it. That's all that is. Okay, and 2 pots of water. I always keep a fresh pot for the clean, when I want clean water on my paper. And that's it. Let's get started. So I'm going to decide on the horizon line. So I think I'm going to do it rather low. So you don't want it smack in the middle. You just want it beneath there. And that's kind of what I'm going for right now. I'm probably going to change it as we go along. And I'm going to just wet my way up here. Oh, there was another color I was supposed to tell you about. Sorry. Let me just wet this. So this is Payne's Gray or Indigo, whatever you have. But to the center of this sky, the first layer, I'm going to add a bit of cobalt. If you don't have cobalt, you could use phthalo blue, you could use Prussian blue, anything just to tame down that Payne's Gray a little bit. So I want it to be a slight bit lighter. So we're going to start kind of right at that horizon line and brush our way up. We're going to do this all the way up to the top. Okay. If you have to wet your brush again, that's okay. I'm using B paper. It's 100% cotton. And it's cut in half, and it works perfectly for a 5x7 card. So I want the edges to be darker than the center. And this is going to fade quite a bit. So you're going to be surprised how light this gets. So we're going to go just around here. Now for that horizon line, I want pure Indigo or Payne's Gray. You see the difference? It's thicker, it's darker, and we're going to go up. We're going to just dot it here and flick it up. And don't worry about making space for anything. Not at this point anyway. Now when you're working wet and wet, when you release your brush, it makes like a blotch. If you don't want that, you're going to start from the top and work your way down, and the blotch will be down there. Okay, we need lots more here. Lots dark. I want it really dark around here. And I'm just flicking my brush up and down, because this is going to look like a little bit of a forest in the background. Okay, and even more because this is going to lighten. It's really going to dry a lot lighter than you think. Okay. Hope you could see that quite well. Ooh, that was a little bit shiny for you. Sorry about that. And this kind of looks like snow when you leave it like this. So I don't mind that uneven line. Some people, it would drive them crazy. So, but for me, that's good. Now, rinse your brush and dab it off and get a nice tissue and kind of make a point with it and decide where you would like your cabin to be. I'm going to do my cabin right here. So I'm just going to dry out like a little triangle kind of. This cabin is very rudimentary, by the way. It's nothing fancy. So then you take your wet brush and you just put your water where you want your cabin. Maybe I'll make it a little taller. You see how the water is pushing away those colors. And then I'm going to dab it up. Just like that. I'm going to do it one more time. My brush is going to be a little more dry this time. So I'm going to sop it up with the brush so I can get better edges. Okay. And now we're going to try to leave this dry. If you want, this would be a nice time to work at a little moon. Now, I don't know if I want a crescent or if I want a whole moon. Maybe I'll just do a whole one. So I'm doing the same thing. I'm picking up the paint. If you don't see enough of it coming up, you can use, some people use a dime and they put it inside their Kleenex and dab it out. I don't need it to be perfect. I don't really care too much, and that's just fine for me right there. Now I'm going to leave this dry and I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. I cheated and I used my dryer, my heat tool, just to dry it. It's not like 100%, but it's good enough for my next step. I am going to be using, once again, I'm going to be using straight indigo. And I'm going to make some darker trees in the background. Okay. So this is pretty creamy. And I'm going to do a nice tall one over here. So we're going to come from the top down. Right. And then I'm going to tickle a few. This is why it's good if you have a thin brush. Just tickle the page. Go back and forth. Tickle the page. I need more paint on my brush. And try to come down and sideways. And I'm doing this. And I'm making that noise too. Sorry. And these will look better once we add the snow. So don't worry about perfection. Just put a nice tree. You can make it as fat or as skinny as you like. Don't fret over it because everybody knows that that is a tree. Okay? Okay. I think I'm going to do a nice one behind the house here. Okay, maybe a couple of treetops here. See, I'm just zigzagging back and forth because the ones in the back you don't see as much as this one. Okay, I'm going to come over here. And you can see these are tiny here in the background. See, these look like trees in the background. So I think I'll put one here. I'm trying not to make them all the same size. It's kind of hard. Your brain automatically, I think our brains like patterns. So we tend to do things in patterns. So be careful of that, because it does look nicer when you don't do that. I'm going to cram one in here. Just a little guy. I'm going to come over here. I think I'm going to make a nice big one over here. I have to watch. I don't want two of the same size, so maybe I'll come right up like that. And thank you people for the people who comment and like my videos. I really appreciate it. It's been tough getting through this block, and that your comments really encourage me to just keep going, because I feel like giving up sometimes. Okay, and maybe I'll put a teeny tiny little ones here. Okay, so now while they're drying, I am going to work on this house. So I'm going to take a little bit of yellow ochre just to start the roof of the house, and I'm going to leave a little bit of that white showing, just so it kind of looks like snow. Okay. If you're finding it too hard to paint with a flimsy brush, go back to trying to find one that's small, but that's got some spring to it. So then I'm going to come down here underneath that roof, and I'm going to water this down. So I put the paint on my brush, and then I put water on it, and I'm just going to come down here. Now, because the cabin is not like the actual highlight of the whole painting, I don't want to put too much detail. But what I will do is I'm going to put a door and I guess a window right around here. So I'm going to sop up some of that paint that I just put on. It doesn't have to be perfect, because we're just going to put a bit of yellow ochre there again after. And the door is going to go here. So I'm going to put a bit more. I'm going to put a bit more burnt sienna underneath the roof. And then I'm going to make it a bit darker over here. Oops, that was where the window was supposed to be. Don't worry about it. The less even it is, the nicer it's going to look. Now I'm going to take a really thin one, and I'm going to do the door in dark brown, in my Van Dyke brown. It looks like that. Nice chocolate color. And it's okay if it bleeds, because it's far away, so you wouldn't see it very close, sharply anyway. So I'm going to do a little window. And we're going to leave it like that just for now. And maybe a little bit under here, under the roof again. Okay. Now we're going to leave the house be. Next thing I'm going to do, if you're more comfortable, get a pencil. In case you're feeling a little bit nervous about this part. But I'm going to make like little waves in the snow. So I think I'm going to make this look like a little hill. And I'm going to do that by taking that sky color we had and water it down, really water it down. And I'm going to go from the side of the door And I'm just going to come down this way. And then here, I think I'm going to come this way. And then we're going to soften those lines upward. Like that. Okay. And then of course you just dry brush the rest. Just drag your brush along, just so it looks like there's it's not even, so the snow doesn't look too even. Okay. And then we're going to leave this dry. Oh yeah, before that I will put some yellow ochre in the window. And yellow ochre is usually semi-opaque or opaque, so it'll show as yellow. You can do your house red if you prefer. Maybe in the next painting I do, I'll do it red, and I'll be able to show you that. I'll be right back as soon as this dries. Okay, I'm back. It's nice and dry. And now what I would like to do is to do a tree right here, like a Christmas tree. So I am going to use my dark green for this. It should be dark enough to contend with this, to show up against this, but still look like green. So I'm going to come here. And these are going to be bigger and wider than the ones in the back because this is in the front. So you'll be able to see the movement of my brush a little better. I'll do a close-up for you. So I'm zigzagging down, so it kind of looks like the pine needles. Okay. Okay, and I think that's going to be a good size. We're going to let that dry. And while we're letting this dry, I'm going to deal with this. I don't like how that moon looks right now. So I'm just going to go around and just go around the outside a little bit too. And I'm scrubbing a little bit with my good brush, which I shouldn't be doing. And I'm going to just sort of try to get it to fade off a little bit better without leaving a rim. I think that's a bit better. It was a little bit too stark. We'll see how it is after it dries. If worse comes to worse, what I will do is I will use a piece of, you know, those foam cleaners, and I'll scrub a little bit. Maybe I'll try it right now, since it's damp. Yeah, I think that's okay. Okay. So we're going to work on the house again, and I'm going to get my bleed proof white and my little thin brush. So any thin brush that you have, make sure it's nice and clean, because the white, if you don't have bleed proof white, by the way, you could use gouache or you could use acrylic. I don't recommend you use watercolor white because it fades too much. It fades into gray. So the first thing I'm going to do is go a dot along the roof of the house. Okay, doesn't have to be perfect. Maybe I should use a different brush for this. Okay, so now we're going to start putting some snow on the back trees. So the snow is going to sit on top of these branches. So don't cover them completely. Try to imagine where the snow would be sitting on a branch. Be on top of it. and on the edges, right? And this really makes your trees come to life. And so that's why I say don't worry if they're not perfect, because this step really makes your trees, takes away all the imperfections of your of whatever stroke you used, and it looks perfect. And we're going to do the back. I'm really having trouble with this brush right now. It's like so flimsy, it's not, just a minute, I'm going to switch brushes. This is really small. This is a Virtuoso. It's a 2/0, so it's a 0.2. Let's see if that one was a bit better. I don't know why the other ones, I made my other card with it. Yeah, that's good enough. Perfect. So you see how once you go over these branches, the snow really fixes them for you. Oh, let me do this one. Okay, I think this is dry enough that I could do this one here. Okay, I think I got it all. Okay, so before we let this dry, I'm going to add a bit of snow kind of on top of the door and the windowsill. The next thing, you don't have to do this, but I am going to take a little bit of that green, just teeny tiny little sprigs. I'm gonna get them poking out of the snow, just little sprigs, just to make things look a little interesting. And the farther back you go, the smaller they get. Just kind of looks Christmassy, you know, like looks like sprigs of pine. You could use a bit of your burnt sienna too if you want. I'll show you one with that. You could just add that to some of your sprigs, but it's not necessary. Now before we let this completely dry, I'm going to add a little bit of burnt sienna. I should have changed my brush. I'm using this itty bitty brush. Just adding a little bit more color to it. We're not quite finished here, so okay, and now let that dry and we'll be right back. For this next step, you can do a few things. you can splash some white. And if anybody watches my videos, you know I'm really bad at splashing white. It never works for me. So I am going to use a jelly roll. It's a gel pen. It's white. It's a size 10. So I'm going to make my own dots. You can also use, if you want to fancy up your card, you can use some gold. I think I might put some on the tree since the tree is so dark. I may put some gold and red on the tree. This is by far the best gold I've ever found. It's in a powder form. It's Schmincke Aqua Bronze, and this is called Rich Pale Gold. And it's in a powder, and you will own this forever. I got it on sale for $10, and what I do is I mix it up in a little travel makeup jar, and I let it dry, and when I need it, I add some water to it. And I just stir it around with a cheap brush, because it's you kind of have to, I'm being rough with my brush. And it really is a beautiful gold, absolutely beautiful gold. And it shows up on your cards. So, you know, there's a number of things you can do to decorate your tree, decorate your house. What if you know, it's all about you personalizing this. So I'm going to start off with my gel pen, and I'm going to start over here. And what I try to do is make teeny tiny dots, and then a big dot every so often. And I just poke. I try not to worry about where I'm putting them, except every so often I let my pen sit a little bit longer, and it'll make a bigger drop. If you want to do a few big ones and then dot in between, you could do that. You might want all of your snowflakes a little bigger. If I splash the white paint, I have it on my glasses, I have it everywhere except the painting. No joke. Okay. So, and then I'm going to come just in front of the house, and I'm just going to make little like a little mounds of snow here. Okay. I think that's good enough for the snowflakes. Okay. Now I'm going to take my gold, and I'm going to put a little star on the top, and I'm just going to do a few drops of gold. And if you want to do your snowflakes as like it'll look like stars, that would be nice too. I could put a few in and show you. And it really shows up this gold aqua bronze, it's called. So it is an actual watercolor. It gets activated with water. Oops, that was a bit of a blob. I can't keep my hand steady enough, I guess. And try to have separate water for your aqua bronze or whatever metallic paint you use, because it will contaminate your other paints. It gets in the water and contaminates your other paints. The other thing I forgot to do was put some snowflakes in front of the house, because it doesn't snow around the house, it snows all over. Okay. And I think I'm going to add, I have an acrylic marker. If you don't have this, you could use opaque You could use opaque red paint, like cadmium is opaque red. And you could just put a few. I'm just putting a couple of red dots on my tree. And maybe the very, very last thing is to just add, nah, I think I'm gonna leave it. No, I'm gonna do it. So just with a little bit of that sky color that you have left, just a tiny bit, just try to put it underneath where your sprigs are coming out of the ground. Just like that. It's a tiny, tiny little detail, but sometimes those little tiny details really, really make a painting. That one's a bit close to the tape, so it's hard. There we go. And now for the unveiling. And there we have it. Now I want to show you what I will be mounting it on. This is a cardstock that I got from Michael's. So I will be mounting it on here. And I think that the house kind of matches the cardstock, and I think the recipient will be quite happy. And as I said, you know, you could decorate all your trees. You can do, there's a myriad of things you can do with it, with this. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you give it a try. I really hope to see you more in the new year. I'll do my very best to make a video as often as I can. Thank you again for all your kind comments. They're very much appreciated. Happy watercoloring, everybody. Bye-bye.